As we begin our geometry unit, we're first going to talk about just the basics, which are lines and angles. Now you probably think you know what a line is, and you kind of do, but there are really three main distinctions that we're going to talk about. The first is a line segment, which is what we typically call a line. Like if you're art and you're asked to draw a line on your paper, you're actually drawing a line segment. A line segment has two defined endpoints, and we draw like a dot on either end of it to show those endpoints. A ray is another kind of line, and it starts from an endpoint but goes on forever in one direction. Think about like the sun. Like the sun is a fixed point, and the rays of light that come out of the sun go on forever. And then just a plain old line, Arthur's here. A line, not like the lines that we draw on paper, technically goes on forever. So we have an arrow that points in either direction, showing that it continues on. So when you say draw a line, typically we're talking about a line segment. So these little symbols that we add help denote specifically what kind of line we're talking about, and we'll use those throughout the geometry unit. Parallel and perpendicular are two ways to describe lines and how they interact with each other. Parallel lines kind of look like the two L's in the word parallel. They are lines that go on forever in either direction and will never cross or intersect. Think about like train tracks. Each side of the train track is a straight line that's not going to ever cross or intersect with the other rail or other side. Sometimes we add these little arrows to lines to show that they're parallel, especially like when we're hand drawing them. Like these aren't exactly parallel lines, but those little arrows are kind of a geometry symbol that we use to show that we are meaning for these two lines to be parallel. Perpendicular lines form to meet a 90-degree angle, and we'll talk more about what that means. We use this little half square symbol to show 90 degrees, but anytime two lines meet or cross or intersect to form a 90-degree angle, we say that they are perpendicular lines. Now, angles are formed whenever two lines or line segments or rays meet. And there are different ways that we describe different kinds of angles. Angles are measured in degrees, and that's like we might measure height in inches, we measure angles in degrees. Where two lines or rays or line segments meet is called the vertex. That's what forms the angle. And oftentimes we name an angle with letters. So we would say that this is ray BA and this is ray BC. I'm just kind of playing connect the dots. But we would call the angle that this forms angle ABC. We kind of connect the dots, A to B, B to C. These are protractors, and they measure degrees, and we use protractors to either measure an angle or to actually draw an exact angle. The three main angles that we're going to talk about today are acute, right, and obtuse angles. An acute angle is less than 90 degrees. So we always start at this midpoint of the protractor. We make a ray that points to the zero or goes through the zero mark on the protractor, and an acute angle is anything less than 90. So for example, this would be an acute angle because it measures less than 90 degrees. The next one we're going to talk about is a right angle. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. So we start at the midpoint, we draw a ray that goes through the 0-degree mark and then straight up to the 90-degree mark. We use this little half square that denotes 90 degrees exactly. So think about like the corner of a sheet of paper, rectangles and squares. Those are made up of right angles. Finally, obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees. So again, we start at the middle, we draw a ray that points to the 0, and if here's 90, anything greater than 90 will be an obtuse angle. There's really a fourth angle, straight angles, that you'll sometimes hear about, not nearly as often as acute, right, or obtuse. A straight angle is a straight line, so it is exactly 180 degrees. So if we start at the midpoint, draw a ray that goes through 0. If we went full 180 degrees, we would form a straight line, which is a 180-degree angle or a straight angle.